Hi chess fans, in this video we will look at a position that derives from the Queen's Gambit declined, Bishop f4 variation. Okay, let's have a look. d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, knight d5, knight c3, bishop e7 is a position which is very common in the Queen's Gambit declined. Black is not going for plans with b6 or c5 early in the game, and black is also not going for any bishop to b4 moves early in the game, but black chooses a solid and flexible setup against the Queen's Gambit. Black is also not planning to go into some Slav or semi-Slav positions with c6. And this position here can be reached with a lot of move order transpositions. So for example here, black played knight f6, but black can also play d5 and then later the same moves. In this position here, white can often play knight c3, and then black can theoretically also go into some Nc3 Indian or early c5, or like a lot of systems, but actually this position here is very common, and it's something if you play with an e6 d5 setup with black against the Queen's Gambit declined, or with white you play d4. This is a position that you are likely to have on the board quite often. Okay, bishop e7, and now in this position here, white wants to develop, and to develop the bishop, white plays very often e3 to make space for the bishop, but this e3 move locks in the bishop on c1, and especially after black has committed his bishop to e7, it's very unlikely that black will play bishop b4. And so as a result, this bishop does not have to go to d2. And as a result of all of this, it's basically in all games, white now develops this bishop here before playing e3 and developing this bishop. And so as a result, there are two main moves in this position. One, the main move is bishop g5 with a lot of systems. Black can play castle or h6 here. But another move is bishop f4. It's also a very common move and very commonly played. And after castles and e3, which are like standard moves, now there are two moves in this position here. And in this video, we want to look at this position. And if you look in an opening book, the most commonly played move is c5. And if you look at the statistics of this move, it's actually not the case that it doesn't look like this move is a bad move. And the other move is bishop to d7, bishop b to d7. But now what's interesting is, on top GM level, nobody plays c5 anymore. If you look at like the last 1,000 games, there is an occasional random Nakamura playing c5, but basically everybody now plays knight to d7. And in this video, I would like to look at this position and look at the difference between c5 and knight b d7. And I want to make the argument or show why I think in this position black should play knight b to d7 and not c5. And this is not a repertoire for black or white, but you can look at it from the white side and the black side. In fact, let's turn the board around from the white position now, because let's have a look at what happens if black plays c5 here. And if you want, if you are playing this position with white, you can be happy if black plays c5. And let's have a look why. White can play a forcing line now, d takes c, and now bishop c5 is the only move for black. And now white can play a3. And I'm gonna remove these arrows for a second. So a3 is the strongest move in this position, and why? Well, it is clear that now this bishop is here on c5, and white can play b5 and take advantage of this bishop being stuck here and attack this bishop, because this bishop does not have so many good squares to go to other than, for example, going back or being a little bit exposed here on the b6 square. So that's one purpose behind a3. But the plan that white has here is a little bit more subtle as well, because the problem in black's position is this bishop here on c8. And basically what white is playing here as well is a waiting move, posing a question immediately to black: what are you going to do? How are you going to develop in this position? And let's have a look at a few options. Let's say black says, okay, this bishop is my problem bishop, I want to develop it, so maybe I can develop it to d7. Okay, if black plays d7, white now can take advantage of the fact that this queen is not coordinating with the d5 pawn anymore, and plays c takes d. And after retaking, white actually wins a pawn. And that's it. Yeah, so this is the reason why bishop d7 is losing a pawn. It's not possible. What if black decided, okay, I want to develop my bishop here on this side, and let's say black plays b6. Now at this position it becomes clear why a3 was such a good waiting move, because now after b4 this bishop cannot retreat to b6. That's one feature. And white can also again play c takes d, and after knight takes, queen takes, e takes d. White can attack this pawn here, and if black protects it, white simply plays e2, and white has a very nice position advantage here, because this pawn here is having a hard time advancing, because this square is well under control of white. This bishop here is going to be pushed away because it doesn't go well together with the pawn on b6. And so this bishop will have to give up control of this square as well. And as long as this pawn on d5 is here, this bishop will be caged in. And so on the other hand, white has very active pieces. This bishop is having good functions. This bishop here has a lot of squares to go to. So white is better here. White is, according to the engine, better a pawn. In addition to the bad piece play, black obviously also has this weakness here on d5. This is this is an isolated pawn that cannot be easily pushed, and so it's a bad isolated pawn. Okay, going back to this position here, by playing a3, white is making a useful waiting move, posing the question to black: what are you going to do? And basically, the best move in this position here is knight to c6. And the reason behind this move is that if white now plays c takes d, which is now not such a good idea anymore, black can retake, and because this knight is supporting this push here, this is a good isolated pawn because it can be pushed. So for example, if white plays bishop e2, black has some options here, but the best move is pushing past the isolated pawn right away, supported by the bishop and the queen. And after e takes d, black can take with the knight, and it's actually better here. So in that respect, after a3, knight to c6 is the best move for black. It's almost forced. If black plays anything else, you can be happy with white. And now white can continue with the plan c2. So this is actually already what white wanted to play after a3. The plan is in this position here to play a3, queen c2, c takes d, and swinging the rook over to d1, either rook d1 or castle. Okay, and after queen c2, again, black has only bad options. We're gonna look at this very briefly here. Bishop d7. So let's look at the two moves, how black can develop his bishop. Is again a bad option because now white can play rook d1, and black runs into the same problems again. White will win this pawn. Instead, b6, again rook d1. The rook is performing the function now of the queen before. And again, c takes d, e takes d with the bad isolated pawn. If instead, after queen c2, black now pushes the pawn, white can play a long castle and is better here because of the pin with the queen. And white will win this pawn. So after queen c2 is actually a move that after knight c6 prevents the push of the isolated pawn, or the push of the d5 pawn. Okay, the book move here is, or again, it's difficult for black to find a move. Now, in a way, queen c2 is again a useful waiting move, and if black doesn't do anything, rook d1 will follow, and the plan with c takes d is still in the air. So, in addition to this, white also threatens b4. And so the best move, according to the books, is already queen a5. The idea is that it prevents b4 because the rook will fall. So after queen a5, white plays long castle. And yeah, now white's position here looks a bit vulnerable, but it can actually not so easily be attacked. So if d takes c, we take with the bishop and develop that piece as well. That looks good for white. And the best move, according to the books, is actually bishop e7. Why? Because now black is already preparing to defend here a little bit. The reason is that whatever black plays, white now has, I mean, look at this position. All the pieces are pointing towards the king. The bishop can still wait here and see if it goes to c5, to c4 after black takes. But the plan now for white is g4, h4. So this position has been on the board on the top grandmaster level a lot of times, and like Carlsen played h4, Topalov played g4, etc. So the best move is bishop e7, and now the most aggressive move is g4, because after knight takes, white wins the pawn here. So white didn't actually lose the pawn, but and has a strong attack. I mean, in either way, white has a strong attack. If you don't want to play g4, you can also play h4 and develop an attack like this. And this is a very double-edged position, but I think I would prefer playing with white here. Okay, but I mean, even to get there, after c5, d takes c, bishop takes a3. In this position here, black now has to make a lot of precise moves, and the white plan is very clear and very easy to play, right? So white cannot do so much wrong here. Black has to play bishop knight to c6 here, and after queen c2, black has to play queen a5, or otherwise it's very hard to find good moves for black. And this is always something that you want to have, especially if you're not playing on a top GM level. If in this position here after c5 you take, bishop takes, and you play a3, you're posing questions to your opponent. So suddenly now black has not so many good moves. The bishop is a problem. The d5 pawn is a problem. So what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, black? Okay, maybe you find knight c6, but then I play queen c2. What are you gonna do now? Advancing the pawn is bad. Taking here is bad. Doing anything natural to develop this bishop is bad. Yeah? And where does this knight go? Nowhere. Where could this knight go? Nowhere. There's not a good square. Where could this bishop go? There's not a good square. So it's very hard for black to find a good move here. And if black plays something like this, white just continues with his plan and gets an easy advantage here. So because of that, I think c5, d takes, bishop takes a3 is a very comfortable position for white. And I think this is why in this position here, c5 is simply not played anymore by good players. Okay, so let's now turn the board. If you get this position with black, the alternative main move is knight b to d7. Okay, so what's the big idea behind this move? First of all, if we look at the positions that we had before, let's say white again continues with a plan of a3, c takes d, and queen to c2. The big difference here is, let's say a3. It's even a move that white could play. The idea is that now c5 is actually strong. Why? Simple, because after d takes c, black can now retake with the knight. And if white again continues with this plan a3, queen c2, etc., now black can, before we had the situation that black doesn't have good moves and good options, but now black can play with this knight here on c5, and this knight can, for example, go to e4, and from here onwards this knight here is very good, and black has space and time to solve the problem of the bishop. And just before we go into any variations, that's the reason. The reason that after knight d7 you can play c5. It's actually a main move to play c5 later, but the big difference is you can retake with the knight. Okay, so and the other thing is white now has to make a decision. Black played knight to d7, and now white has to come up and say, how do you want to continue? And I'm going to show why it's not so easy for white to continue now. Now white has played e3 and wants to develop this bishop. So if bishop e2, for example, black can now gain an advantage. Why? Because now suddenly black can take on c4, and if the bishop retakes, black can continue with a6, threatening b5 and developing the bishop here. And so now this bishop here is badly positioned, in addition to the fact that white has lost a tempo. White has played bishop e2 and we have retaken, and the bishop had to move again. So here black has a6, and after castle black can play b5, bishop d3, bishop b7, and black has solved all his problems, and this position is equal or even a small advantage for black. Okay, so after knight to d7, you actually are hindering white's development already. No matter where the bishop goes, I mean the same goes for bishop d3, suddenly this will be bad for white. And we want to play moves that pose problems and disharmonize the opponent's development. Okay, so let's say white wants to develop this bishop and saw this line, okay? So the most straightforward way to solve this problem would actually to play c takes d now. But in this position here, black has knight takes, attacking the bishop and the knight. And if knight takes, e takes d. And let's say now bishop d3. Black can play a number of moves here, but in general, this position here is good for black because the problem of the c8 bishop has been solved. So, for example, if black played c6 here, the knight can develop, and both of these bishops here are free. They have diagonals and places to go. The main move here is actually c5, immediately asking questions and maybe even taking advantage of the fact that white hasn't castled yet. So the best move here for white is actually to castle, and now black can play c4, and the bishop probably goes here because it's the more active square. And now look at this, black has this pawn majority here, and this pawn here is hard to be attacked immediately. And if it does get attacked, it has to be with the e4 push, but after black plays b4. If now e4, black could just take out this pawn, or play knight f6 first, even, because after e5, the knight gets a very active square here. So this is all like theory lines. But also, if you don't know this theory, in this position here, you take with the knight, and if white takes, you have solved the problem with the bishops. So this is already progress for black, and no matter how you play, it's already a more comfortable position. And probably this position is equalized now. Okay, so after knight beat d7, white cannot so easily solve his problems by taking here and then developing the bishop. So what other options does white have? Well, let's look at the plans that we had before, a3 and queen c2. So again, just really briefly, after after a3, black now can play c5, and we have seen that after d takes c, black can retake and gains advantage. And if c takes d, black can retake with the knight, and after knight takes, e takes d, and now d takes c, we can retake. And in this position here, this isolated pawn is not too bad, because it can be pushed rapidly, and also the position is opening and the white king has not castled yet. So this is also a good line for black. So black does not have to be afraid of c takes d. Okay, and what about if white plays queen c2 immediately? Same plan, we can play c5, and now this plan doesn't work so well anymore because the knight can retake. And if white after queen c2 says no, I didn't play queen c2 to be able to take here and follow the plan with a3, but to play rook d1, the queen has vacated the square, and now we somehow want to work with the pin here. Now black has himself the possibility to take here on d4, and after e takes, also take on c4, and after bishop takes, play knight b6, and this is the textbook position for a bad isolated pawn, because the knights are ganging up on the square before the pawn together with this pawn here, so it cannot be pushed easily. And if black now manages to exchange pieces, white ends up with this weakness here, so this is also very nice to play for black. Okay, so after what can white play after knight d7? So we have seen a3 is not so good because c5, queen c2 not so good because c5, developing the bishop not so good because d takes c, taking here not so good because this knight gets activated, and after exchanging gets activated, and after exchanging, the problem of the c8 bishop is solved. So actually, it's very hard for white to find a good move, and the best move in this position is actually c5. And this is a very committal move, and the thinking behind this move is that c5 is such a good plan for black to play, that by playing himself c5 and grabbing some space here, this is the best way for white to play, according to the engines and the books and theory, etc. But I mean, look at this. Black plays the innocent knight bd7, and imagine you're playing this game on a not top GM level in a tournament. It's very committed to play c5. So either your opponent really knows the theory and plays c5, or, which is much more likely, your opponent is going to play something like rook c1, which allows yourself to play c5 and gain an advantage, or queen c2 or a3 or the bishop, anything. So c5 is a very committal move, and that's what I love about knight b to d7, because you are asking a question to your opponent, and your opponent has to find a very committal answer to this move. Okay, so now black can play knight to e4. Okay, so and what I love about this move again is the plan is very simple. Black develops the knight, and this knight can come over here or stay to prepare the push of this pawn. But this knight here is asking a question to this knight. And basically, white has to now make a decision again. In this position here, white had to find c5, and now after knight to e4, white really has to think about, okay, do I take out this knight? And the good thing is that after knight takes, black can gain an advantage. So black plays d takes e, and now this knight here is attacked. So if this knight drops back and white plays very passively, black can gain a strong advantage by playing e5, attacking the bishop, and if the bishop takes, knight takes, d takes, queen d5, protect this pawn here, and if this pawn can be protected, it's really annoying for white, and attacking also both of these pawns. So black is better here. Black is really a lot better here in this position. So after knight e4, if white, sorry, that was the better move, but if white takes and then plays passively, black is already winning and gets a winning advantage. So after white had wrestled with the decision to make c5, we can again play the move, and if white now takes, we can force him again to make a decision, and he has to move to e5. And after e5, still black is okay, because after knight takes, bishop d7, we plan to solve the problem by moving the bishop over here. Bishop c4, knight f6, if we're happy to exchange those bishops here. So the bishop drops back, knight c6. Now in this position here, black is okay. Black has solved the problems of his bishops and has now the plan of pushing the e5 pawn. And this pawn here cannot be attacked so easily. I mean, after queen c2 attacking the pawn, we can actually play for the push of the pawn. But this pawn, by playing, for example, queen e7, and black just continues with this plan, and breaking the coordination of the pawn and the bishop is very hard, because this pawn is here. So yeah, this is a very good position for black and very comfortable to play. So after knight e5, so if takes, we have this line here, and if knight d2, we have e5 and queen d5, very strong. So white should not take this knight, okay? So this is a hard decision to make over the board. After knight e4, it's very hard for white to leave this knight here. And the best move is probably rook c1. After a passive move, again, like bishop e2, black can play f5, solidifying the position of this knight here. And this knight here will now stay on e5, because whenever it is exchanged, we retake with the pawn. So if white would now take it, or at any point later in the game, we retake with the f-pawn. This knight has to move somewhere. Okay, let's say the knight moves back. Then we have this e5 push again. The knight was blocking, controlling the square, but now as the square is not controlled by the knight anymore, we can push the pawn. And after d takes, we can first gang up on this pawn, but we will also later win this pawn, okay? So f5 is so strong because if this knight gets exchanged, we chase away a defender of the e5 square, allowing us to push e5. And if the knight goes in here, we can simply exchange it and have similar plans to what we have seen before. Okay, so in this position here, any bishop move is not so good. Any move of the f1 bishop is not so good. So the best move here is rook c1. And now black can take the knight here. And white has the choice of weakening his pawns or retaking with the rook, which probably he will do because that's why he played rook c1. And now black can continue with b6, asking a question to this pawn. And if white doesn't react to it, for example, if white says, no, my pawn stays here, we can immediately take the pawn out. And little Zwischenzug attacking the rook here and play e5. So after b6, we're actually happy to take immediately on the next move because white is going to retake with the pawn, and then we have the bishop here hitting the rook, which will give us the time to play then immediately e5, which is supported by the bishop and the knight. So very nice. Okay, so in this position, and this is an idea that also goes into other variations, b6. And b6 at the same time also activates this bishop. So white's best move here is actually again very hard to find. White has to make a choice again and play c6. And now after knight f6, a3, knight to e4, c2. This position is okay for black. You know, black can play a5, developing the bishop here. And there are like a number of plans for both sides in this position. But boy, after knight d7, white has to make the decision to play c5. Okay, after knight e4, white has to make the decision not to take this knight because it would be bad. And after taking here, b6, white again has to find the move c6. And all of this are decisions that are hard to make for white, and if white goes wrong, we have ways to exploit it. So if white plays, we have looked at the moves, bishop moves, etc., etc. If white does not play c5 here, we will have ourselves c5. And here, if white takes, we hit the bishop, we hit the knight here, and we are able to have the lever e5. And here, if white doesn't take with the rook, or doesn't play rook c1, but something else, we take with the knight and have a bad pawn structure. And then b6, white, it's so committed to play c6 here in a practical game. It's really so committed, and we have seen that if white does not do that, we gain an immediate advantage here as well. So white has to play c6, and now the game just continues. But white has to spend so much resources, find all these moves, and this is why I mean, obviously, if white knows the theory in and out, this will be white will know that and play the moves quickly. But otherwise, at the very least, after all those decisions that white had to make, you are having a position with black that white has probably used up a lot of his time and is very tired already. So yeah, this was maybe a bit deep, but basically knight bd7 is a waiting move, allowing us to continue with our plan of c5, but also forcing white to make a lot of decisions and a lot of ways for us to gain an advantage afterwards. So if you are black, please play knight d7 in this position. And if you're white, if black plays c5 in this position, be aware of this plan with a3, d takes, c2, and then long castles and g4 and h4, and you can be very happy if black plays c5 here. And actually, because this position here can be reached so often, and also in a tournament game, if you prepare yourself for your opponent and you know that your opponent is somebody who loves to play these bishop e7 lines, for both sides, for white, it's actually a good line to try bishop f4 here, because a lot of players still play c5. It's really very hidden in the books, because c5 is the main move, and it's not so often that you have something that's a main move and so straightforward in such a straightforward plan. But none of the big GMs is playing it anymore because they know of all these complications that arise afterwards. It's a very good opportunity also for you as white to try the bishop f4 line if you know your opponent loves these bishop e7 systems. Okay, thanks a lot for watching.